come now to a piece of Latin syntax which is very unlike what we find in English. However, I am going to attempt to teach you this by pointing out something in English which is very close to the conceptual idea of an ablative absolute. Let's take the phrase, "This being so, I cannot attend." Now, we're not likely to say this, but it's not unfamiliar to us. Let's look at this little thing, "this being so." It has a characteristic which is central to understanding its ancestor, ablative absolute. Absolute here means that it is unrelated grammatically to the rest of the sentence. This is independent of this. That independence is the idea behind absolute, and absolute means something unrelated. In Latin, we are going to take a couple of words, well, specifically words that I'm going to show you. We're going to put them in the ablative, and their presence in the ablative will disconnect them from the rest of the sentence, and they will form a construction on their own. So let's look at a definition of an ablative absolute in Latin, and you'll begin to see that, yes, it is pretty much gone in English, but this is a pretty good related idea. An ablative absolute is a noun or a pronoun plus a participle. These are the only words that can function in this way. They have to be in the ablative case. That is why it's called an ablative absolute. Now, if we were doing ancient Greek and I was trying to teach you that, then we would have a genitive absolute, and the function of the genitive absolute in Greek is entirely the same as the ablative absolute in Latin. But in Latin, these two words, a noun or pronoun and participle, in the ablative case, they must be absolute, meaning grammatically unrelated to the rest of the sentence. Now, what is the function of this? Well, that's the fourth part of our little definition here. The first part is noun or pronoun and participle. Second part, got to be ablative case. Third part, cannot be related to anything inside the sentence. Well, what's the fourth part? They provide background information. Now, background information means we understand why I cannot attend because of this statement. Same thing in Latin. Let's take a look at a very simple Latin sentence. Hoc dicto Now here we have, I am setting forth. What is this? Well, I put a long mark here to indicate that this is an ablative. It is the word for this. It is not something we've covered yet, but it's pretty simple. This is a participle, so we have a pronoun and a participle. We notice they're both ablative. The English editors often put a comma. When we try to translate this all together, we get confused because this doesn't seem to fit in with this. And when we realize that, we go, this is an ablative absolute. Now that we've identified an ablative absolute, we may give a standard pronunciation for it, and that is blank having been blanked. So watch. I'm going to put the translation of this here, this, and I'm going to put the translation of this participle here, having been said. Translation, this having been said, I am leaving, I am setting forth. Now you'll notice that this provides background information as to my setting forth, but it is not grammatically related to setting forth. So we could say something like Gallia, Victa, Kaiser, Romam, Iet. Gaul, having been conquered, Caesar went to Rome. Now, the ablative absolute thus is used in Latin to provide background information. It is identified by its ablative nature. You do need to learn the definition if you want to be able to spot it. Real Romans use it with abandon. They use it all over the place. It is a very succinct expression, and that's the kind of thing Romans like most of all. And once again, it is a noun, pronoun, and participle, and you must be these two. It is in the ablative. It's unrelated, therefore it's called absolute, and it's background. And that's the key. Let's do another example. Let's say, awe we saw omina bona sunt. The omens are good. Why? What's the background of that? The bird having been seen. Now in English, we do not do things like the bird having been seen. What do? We use when, since, although, because. In other words, we create a subordinate clause. And that is the ultimate way, in the ultimate direction we want to take our translating, towards creating some kind of clause in English to replace the ablative absolute so we do not get the awkward sounding things like the bird having been seen. But at this point in your Latin career, being able to recognize an ablative absolute and understand how it functions is the chief item on your agenda.